Okay, we're back, everybody, on a Thursday night with Representative G.A. Hardaway out of Memphis, who is spending his time with us tonight to talk about an issue that he is concerned about and some other lawmakers are concerned about, and really people all over the country, a lot of states are concerned about, and that is the release of blueprints to make your own 3D printed gun at home. Got some phone calls coming in. We'd like to hear from you what you think of this idea. And we'll begin with, well, I always hit the wrong button. Jerome, you there?
Yes, sir. How are you gentlemen tonight?
Doing
Good
great.
evening, Jerome.
Very good. Excellent. Gentlemen, I have one concern. I feel that the right to self-defense, whether it be a man-made carved stick or a manufactured by electricity 3D printed firearm, is our God-given right, and that's just me personally, to each their own, you know. But I don't go out, and I have a carry permit, and I went through like 5 background checks. I have no problem with anybody having a gun. I feel that an armed society is a polite society, and my question is, should we not be able to boil water for ourselves or cook food for ourselves, etc.? I'm slightly being facetious, but I think my point has been made in that question, and I look forward to your answer. I thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you, Jerome. Appreciate it.
Well, and certainly appreciate the call, but I think Jerome must be conscious if he's a carry permit holder now.
And assuming he's a responsible gun owner.
Right. Well,
right?
He's been responsible so far because he's still got his permit.
Yeah, right.
So what we have to look at is, why do we have the permit system? It's not to keep those who are qualified from owning a firearm or a gun, but it's to keep those who are not qualified or who are a risk to themselves or to society. It's to keep the individual who is mentally unstable. It's to keep the individual who is threatening and proven by his past actions that he's going to kill someone, bodily harm. It's to keep someone from committing harm to themselves. One of the things that I learned at a conference a couple of weeks ago is, and it was about, of all things, it was about gun violence. But what I learned was about mental health and suicide. 5% of the attempted suicides in the United States are by guns, okay? But half of the deaths are by guns. So only 5% are attempting to kill themselves, but half of those who actually attempt suicide are dead. They won't get a second chance. What we found is that quite a few times, I think it's somewhere 70–80% of those who survive are more apt to attempt to rebuild their lives, and they get back on the right track, and they're glad they failed.
Right.
But when you try it with a gun, you're more likely to be successful. So that's just one more reason that we have to keep the guns out of the hands of those that we've determined by law and deliberate debate that these individuals don't need to have guns. They're a threat to themselves or a threat to society.
What do you say to people who say, you know what, people are going to get a gun somehow? If they want to get a gun, they're going to find a gun in our society. The bad guys, felons, whoever may be blocked from purchasing a gun legally through the system that's in place right now, they're still going to find a gun, so it really doesn't matter. Well,
I'll say a couple of things. The same way that laws and locks keep honest people honest, we keep laws and locks in place to keep honest people honest, to keep individuals from hurting themselves, as we just stated on the suicide numbers. When we look at what do bad guys do, if the bad guys are going to do it, there needs to be some means to hold them accountable, and there needs to be consequences. So if we're going to legalize everything and say bad guys can have guns no matter what, then we may as well get to the point to where we just go with the law of the jungle and let what happens happens and the strong survive.
The Wild West, huh?
Yeah, we're a civilized society, and we owe it to those who are most vulnerable to put some things in place to keep that from happening.
Let's go to Joey on line 2. Joey, welcome to Open Line.
Hi, how y'all doing?
Doing
I
great.
have a question. Is there any kind of copyright infringement on them blueprints? You know, that it's got to be, a lot of company information that's kept, for like Beretta or whoever, that's involved in this.
And that's an excellent question. In fact, and thank you, Joey, because that's one of the determinations that we were trying to get to this evening with the legal staff, and that's whether Beretta, who we've 50 caliber long range, you can kill somebody for miles. It's a sniper rifle. Whether or not there's infringement on their patent if someone uses the blueprint to reproduce their gun. So they may become an ally somewhere down the road.
Did you ever think you'd hear yourself say that?
No, I did not. No, I did not. And I'll tell you this, we have a good chance with the same logic of becoming, maybe ally is too strong a word, but at least becoming aligned with the NRA, because the dangers that we're talking about, and then the ability for individuals to go in, violate the patents, and steal the rights that federal government have bestowed upon these companies. And at the end of the day, we're in a capitalistic society, and Wall Street is going to be there to help us on this.
Yeah, indeed. 737+ is the phone number. Thank you, Joey, for that phone call. We'll go next to line 3. That's David. Hi, David.
Howdy.
Hey, what's on your mind?
Evening, David.
I big deterrent that you're missing. The little gadget they're using to make those firearms is called a CNC machine.
Yeah.
And if you've got $30,000 to spend on a cheap one, then why would you spend $30,000 to make a cheap firearm out of plastic that might blow up in your face? And a good one's going to cost you, $500,000. And a lot of those blueprints for military rifles, military receivers, etc., you can go to a public library and look them up. They're public records. Yeah,
and we know that some of them had already been released, but I think what Representative Hardaway may take issue with is that price point, because some of these 3D printers are not that expensive, right?
Yeah, that's I'm not sure.
Maybe
which
he's
ones
talking about a commercial one.
Yeah, you can get printers in the hundreds, a couple of $100 to get you entry level printer, and the printers that you would need to reproduce the blueprints that we're talking about, you can get for a few $1,000s and get quality precision work, and it will get nothing but cheaper. That's what we have to keep in mind. In the future, you'll have the same way that the economy now is giving up on warehousing and is more concerned about being able to get it there overnight. The next step is not to warehouse it at all, even close to you. The next step is for you to be able to produce it in your house, and that's where these 3D printers come in. So individuals, corporations are already focused on making this technology better, advancing it, and making it cheaper. So you'll see, we can't just be concerned about today. We have to be concerned about what happens tomorrow in terms of the technology. And that's where government and lawmakers sometimes have trouble, is keeping up with these rapid quantum leaps that that technology is taking now.
What do you, thank you, by the way, David, for your phone call. We appreciate it. 737 plus. Keep calling in, and we will get you on here in just a moment. We got a few callers on hold. What can the state legislature do to help with this issue?
Well, I don't think there's one answer. I think that we keep monitoring what the federal government is doing and not doing. This current episode has got my head spinning when we are under the assumption that it's not going to happen, and then we have an agreement that says yes, it's going to happen, and then President Trump says, how did that happen? And we're wondering what happened. Okay?
Now, so, August 1st was the day that this company wanted to release, or a few weeks ago, and I know at least one federal judge stepped in and said, you can't do this until we figure this out. And then now the states are joining in this lawsuit as well.
Correct. And where we are right now, and I'll repeat, I don't know how this happens when see this one. I'm talking about
live TV.
Technology.
That's all right. It's open line. They're just calling the wrong line. That's all.
So what we're looking at in terms of the lawsuit is how do we move into the next area of regulation? How do we define what these 3D printed products are, so that they are covered under the current regulation? We don't want to make up extra language and have to stick it in the statute. We want to make sure that these weapons that are produced come under the same guidelines that we have now on who can own them, how you can carry them, how they need to be transported and stored, and it's unconscionable, really, how things got to where they are right now. But we've got to figure out how to deal with it.
And not to mention, when you think of the security aspect, a plastic gun is not going to be detectable with current technology as far as maybe airport screenings and metal detectors. Is that right?
Well, yes and no.
Okay.
What we know is that there have been advances in the ability for these metal detectors to be able to pick up minute amounts of metal. The federal regulations now have something like a 3.7 ounce requirement that you are supposed to have in a gun in order for it to be picked up. And this law goes back to about 88. I think it was revised in 98. The devices that are used for screening now should be picking that up. We've got other devices which are designed to pick up the gunpowder itself. And we've found that the best devices are made by the good Lord, and those are dogs, okay, who can pick up the actual scent of the gunpowder. And it may be, I'm a former dog trainer myself, it may be sometime in the future, as we figure out how to identify which composites are going to be successful in these 3D gun printing.
And you mean types of plastic?
Type of plastic, or it might be some other type of material. And the dogs are trained to pick it up.
Pick that up.
So that might be one way to start to cover this gap.
We're going to take another break, everybody. 737 plus. We've got a few callers on hold. Hang in there, callers. We'll get to your phone calls and your questions and comments right after this.